George Will's here, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, NewsNation senior political contributor. Maybe I think more about Netanyahu because I used to be a Mideast correspondent and sort of view that as a defining point in American politics. But I thought the fact that Netanyahu wouldn't weigh in was significant, and it meant that he really thought DeSantis had a chance.
Of course, DeSantis does have a chance, and Netanyahu has been there through many presidents. And I think he probably expects to be there through some more. And why take the risk of alienating anyone at this point when the United States is so crucial to their survival?
Well, to be fair, though, he picked a real fight with Barack Obama and went all in on Mitt Romney. It did not do well for Israel. And I guess my question is, if Ron DeSantis is now being seen by a certain group of people as enough of a chance that people are holding out and willing to irritate Donald Trump by not endorsing him, that they're holding out for DeSantis, how long DeSantis can keep that up before he has to get in?
He has to get in fairly soon. He has to get in surely before the August debate, and he has to get in as soon as his excuse for not getting in goes away, which is the legislative session in Florida.
So the Ron DeSantis, at least theme right now, is I fight woke, right? It doesn't really have much to do with fiscal responsibility, doesn't have to do with fixing Social Security or any of the typical Republican things. It is about this war on woke. Take a listen.
We have no other recourse but to wage a war on woke.
Florida is where woke goes to die.
When you're trying to impose a woke ideology on our state, we view that as a significant threat.
We reject woke ideology.
I view the wokeness as a form of cultural Marxism. We're not going to let this state descend into some type of woke dumpster fire.
Doesn't every Republican reject woke? Isn't that kind of the entry fee now? Can you run on that?
Everyone in the Republican Party probably agrees with 90% of what Mr. DeSantis says, at least with regard to K through 12 education. The question is this: you can agree with this man and say, I'm not sure we want a president who does this. I'm not sure we want a president who takes a stand on everything.
Right, it has to be heard on everything. That's sort of that was the thing about Donald Trump, is you couldn't get away from him.
Well, the merchandising of Bud Light is not a presidential issue.
Yeah, well, he seems to think it is, and that's what we're for. Speaking of real issues, the debt ceiling is upon us. Joe Khalil caught up with Speaker McCarthy just a couple of minutes ago. Take a listen.
So in your bill, there are certainly a lot of significant cuts, and you've got a lot of Democrats saying even Republican members, when they go back to their districts, are going to have to explain maybe some programs, some things. I mean, even money for some law enforcement, they say, that could potentially be cut. Do you think that's something that they're going to be willing to do?
Okay, now you're a good reporter, so don't read into their talking points. The Democrats say, we're going to melt children's bones. We're going to create asthma. Now listen to all your viewers. You know what we do? Read the bill. Nothing of that's in there. We simply go back to the spending levels we were at 4 months ago.
All right, so there is reality, which is the bill. Then there's the political reality, which is what happens in the media. Every time we get a government shutdown, we can go back to the 90s, Republicans get blamed, whether they're in the White House, whether they're in Congress, wherever they are. It's always Republicans' fault. They always get shellacked. Is there any way Republicans get out of this with not being shellacked?
Well, they've made the only step they can make comes from the House, the only institution they control. The president controls the White House. He controls the bureaucracy, controls the Senate. He doesn't control the media, but he hardly needs to because they're on his side anyway. So the Republicans have one conversation-forcing device, and that is the debt ceiling, at which point they say, if you want X, you have to give us Y. This is transactional politics, happens all the time, and Mr. Biden has done it in the past when he was in the Senate.
Yeah, one of the experts at it when he was in the Senate. It's good to see you as always. We're glad to be in Washington with you. Thank you, sir.
Glad to have you.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.